Hi, I'm Lance Hendricks, and you're watching Brian Lomax's Movie Talk. Don't turn it off.
Hello there, welcome to Brian Lomax Movie Talk. Today I'm joined by a special guest, Sean Breathnach, who is the writer and director of the independent horror film Beyond the Woods. Hello Sean, how are you doing?
Hi Brian, thanks a million for having me on.
It's a pleasure. So Beyond the Woods, it's a... I mean, I assume I'd be right in describing it as a low-budget independent horror film.
You would, yeah, that's definitely an accurate description.
Okay. Just tell us really how this project came about. How did it all start?
It all started, well, I suppose I'd been trying to write a low-budget script, something that I knew would be achievable, and I'd started the process a few years ago, and I wrote what I thought was a low budget script, and then when I went to figure out, you know, how I was going to go about shooting it and locations and everything that was required, I realized it was nowhere near a low budget script. So I wrote another one after that, and I thought, okay, this one now is definitely a low budget script. I had it all stripped down to its bare essentials, what I thought. But once again, when I went to do the pre-production on it, I realised that wasn't a low-budget script either. It would have been quite low budget, but not to the extent that I needed it to be. I then set about writing with what I had available to me. I mean, a lot of people say do that. And I thought I was doing that the first two times I attempted it. So the third time I thought, okay, I want to do something in a house, somewhere that we can be indoors a lot, so that the weather, because as you know here it rains a lot. It's you know, you kind of, if you can do things indoors, it's better. Obviously forests are a good thing. They look good and they're always good for horror. And I knew a lot of very good actors around that I wanted to do something with, and the brainwave came when I watched the sci-fi film Coherence, and that was like an ensemble piece in the guy's house, and I thought they did it beautifully. You know, a simple story but good drama, good interaction with the characters, and I thought if I could do something like that and bring it into the horror world. And the very next day then I read about a sinkhole that had opened up in China, and that they were calling it the Gates of Hell, and that burned at 800 degrees, and I thought, that's it. Marry these two ideas and I've got something. So that was the genesis of the idea.
So once you had that idea, did that kind of formulate anything in particular that you felt you wanted to say? So does the movie to you have something specific you want to say, or is it something else? Is it something beyond that?
It's not necessarily. I mean, there'd be a few things in there that I want to say that I'd have thrown in bits of dialogue, but in general, it really was designed to be an entertaining film that would ideally get you to feel, you know, to care for the characters, or dislike some of them, to laugh, because I tried to put a good bit of humor in there. I without it becoming farcical, you know, just I think it helps break tension when you can laugh about things. And obviously it was designed to be a horror film from the start, but it was more about entertaining and about scaring, and about going on a journey with the characters more than having anything in particular to draw attention to.
And do these characters are they drawn from any inspiration of real people in your life?
Yeah, I suppose they are, and none of them would be any particular person, but they'd be some people with exaggerated characteristics, maybe just pushing those characteristics a bit more than they are in reality. And I would think that, I suppose, a lot of us know people who are like those characters. They're pretty normal characters in a way, but they go through those dramas that bunches of friends go through throughout their lives.
And what was it that kind of primarily informed that decision to go low budget? Because obviously, you say you wrote some of the scripts and they turned out not being that low budget. So why not take them elsewhere and try to get them made through other means? So what is it that, like I say, informs that decision?
Well, I suppose Beyond the Woods was the eighth script that I'd written, and when I started writing scripts originally, I was writing big budget scripts with the idea of like spec sales to Hollywood. I was coming at it from a naive point of view to an extent, and I did send them out to the usual sort of screenwriting competitions and that, and some of them did well. Like they went on to second or third rounds. There was semi-finalist, there was a quarter finalist, but the reality is so few spec films are made, spec screenplays are made, that you need to be in the top like 1% to get it anywhere.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of effort to do that. And eventually I decided I needed to write something that I could film myself, like I had done with short films in the past. Because rowing back even further, about 10 years ago, I was selling options on scripts to comedy shows in the UK. But none of them got made, which was disappointing because there was great enthusiasm from everyone to get them made. I mean, they wouldn't have taken option on them if they didn't want to make them. And eventually I kind of lost patience with it. And I think that informed what you were talking about in terms of Beyond the Woods. I didn't want to spend 3 or 4 years trying to get it made. The other scripts, I did send them to a couple of horror producers just to see what they thought, and the feedback was generally good. They were saying, okay, rewrite bits and pieces. They'll always say that. 9 times out of 10 they'll say that. Then you can go back to them in 6 months and they can say, okay, we'll take it to our people, and it can just be a very, very long process. And whereas I have 2 more horror scripts that are bigger budget scripts that I am trying to get made at the moment, but I thought the time was right for me to just do something that I could make myself and get it out there, show people what I can do, and make it easier to open doors and to get scripts onto people's desks.
Yeah. Okay. So with that in mind, what would you say was the greatest challenge, purely from a script writing standpoint? What was the greatest challenge you faced there?
It's a good question, because with this particular script, the greatest challenge, I suppose, was just marrying those 2 ideas together, and making it so that I knew for a fact I could shoot it with people I knew, with very little money. It was, but because I had written scripts before and that weren't, once I'd gone through the budgeting process, that weren't at that level. I had an idea. I had a very good idea at that stage what was required to make it filmable. So there wasn't so much of a challenge, really. I kind of knew what we could do. So from the script, I mean, there was plenty of challenges, but not from writing the script, really. I wrote it. My process is, in general, I write the summary, and once I have the summary, which can be, the summary could be 50 pages long, but normally it's about 20 pages long. And once I have a summary, once I have a beginning, middle, and end, I tend to write scripts pretty quickly after that. It's the summary that takes me time. But in this case, because I had the 2 ideas, it really didn't take that long. I can't think of any real difficulty with that script. It kind of zipped along nicely. That being said, I thought at the time that I would be able to film it all in a block of 8 days. And I talked to a friend of mine who's an experienced first AD, and he said, there's no way you're going to film that in 8 days. No way. Even if you do 16-hour days, it's not possible.
Yeah.
So there was a bit of naivety on my part at that stage, but I was getting all these people together. There wasn't any money in it. I had to get a bunch of 14, 15 people together for those 8 days. And all these actors in the crew, they're working on other things. And I thought if I had to do it twice, I thought it wouldn't be possible. But as it happened, it was possible, because the first AD was right. We didn't get it done in 8 days.
Yeah.
We did have to come back again, and it took about 6 months to reschedule everyone.
Wow.
Because people were away on other things, and just because it was an ensemble film, I needed everyone back together.
So what you're saying is there's scenes in this that are actually 6 months apart from when they were shot.
There are.
Okay. Well, props to the continuity guys on that.
Yeah.
What advice would you give then to anyone who's maybe just getting started, wants to get into writing, and they're thinking about maybe writing the first script or struggling with their second script or whatever? What advice would you give to them?
The advice that I'd always give is keep writing. I mean, there's no better thing to do than keep writing, and even if you're frustrated with what you're writing, or if you're frustrated at not getting where you want to be in the script, keep pushing through it. It's amazing. Like, some scripts are going to be frustrating, and some journeys are going to be frustrating, but really the more you write, the more of an intuition you get for it, and I won't say it's easy, because I don't think it's ever easy, and I've never found it easy, but it definitely is easier. You get into a habit, and you just sit down, and even setting yourself 3 pages a day or those sort of things, even if what you write you bin it the next day, it's just good to keep doing it, and just try to keep that discipline to push through.
Okay. So was there any fundraising involved then to raise the money for this, or did it come entirely out of your own pocket?
There was fundraising, actually, twice as it happened. We started off and we ran a funded campaign for about, I can't remember exactly what it was. I think it was like 12,000 at the time. And I think we got about 5.5 or 6. So we did pretty well, but it was one of those funded things that if you don't get it all, you don't get any of it. So we didn't achieve the goal. Now, in a way, it was probably as well, because when we were doing that, there was more ambitious plans in terms of showing the sinkhole and a few other things that we had planned on doing. And in a way, even if we had that money, I'm not sure we could have done it to the extent, to the quality that it needed to be. So we scraped together the money in other ways. We did get help from some people that we knew. One of the guys who was a lighting company down here, SLR, they gave us the lights. We borrowed cameras off people. We borrowed equipment off people. We were very, lucky in that people did come on board and kind of help us out with stuff. So when we shot that first 8 days, that's kind of how we did it. To cover the next block of days, which was 5 or 6, we ran another funded campaign, and that was for €2,500, and we got about €2,700. So that covered hiring the locations and catering and all that, everyday stuff that you need on a set. So it didn't come entirely out of my pocket, and I suppose you could say a good deal of it came out of everyone's pocket to an extent, because a lot of people worked on the film for nothing, so they gave their time and their skills and everything to the film. So everyone did dig deep to get it finished.
Okay. So just talk a little bit about the casting process now. How did each of the cast get involved? Is it kind of, was there a casting process, or did you already have these people in mind?
There was a smaller casting process. I had a lot of these people in mind already. A good few of them I'd worked with before on short films in the past, and I wrote the characters for these actors because I wanted that rapport that you see in the film where everyone looks like they've been friends for years, and a lot of these people do know each other, so there was already, you know, a rapport there between them. There was a few of the actors that I did cast, and I tend to cast I go to a lot of film festivals, I see people in short films, and I note people that, you know, that I appreciate and that I think I'd like to work with, you know. So there was some of that, and there was also a crossover of those people with ideally knowing someone on the cast or crew, so that no one really felt like they didn't know anyone there, that they were coming into a place where everyone knew everyone except for me, you know. So that was another thing. And then there's an agent up in Dublin who we seem to like the same people. I've used a lot of his actors in films over the years. So one of the actors came from him as well. I went through his website and looked through showreels, but there wasn't an actual process where I sat people down and did a casting for it. It was all like I described.
All right. With regards to the cast, I think they do a really good job on the whole. There seems to be, it feels like a lot of the scenes, dialogue stuff, much of that was improvised. Is that the case, or was it written that way?
Not as much as you'd think. A good bit of it was written. Now, there was room for improv, and I wasn't religious about them sticking, you know, to every word on the script. Although in most cases they stuck to it or pretty close to it. Some of the scenes, all right, like the scenes where they're having the drinks and they're in the sitting room chatting about things, that is all improvised. So that is one scene that's start to finish improvised. And there are other bits and pieces around the kitchen table and that are, we'll say, 30 or 40% improvised. So there are definitely improv scenes in there, all right. But I think they fit in well with the dialogue anyway, because it was all kind of written that way to be natural.
Okay, and as a director, obviously separating the writing side of things, the directing side of things, how important do you feel it is as a director to know about equipment? So like cameras, for example, things like that. Like how much of that do you place in the DP's hands, and where, you know what I mean? Where do you kind of toe the line with that? Do you feel like it's a necessity for you to know the equipment, or is that not really essential to do what you need to do as a director?
I don't think it's essential. I think it helps if you know the difference between 35mm and 85mm in terms of lenses, and it helps if you can say to your DP or your cameraman that effectively focal lengths and that. I don't think the equipment itself, I don't think you need to know too much about it. I've been using cameras for a good while, so I do know it, but you don't need to. And I was very lucky with Kieran and Porg. I mean, they're meticulous at what they do, and they're obviously very much into what they do, and I just let them, you know, do what they needed to do. In fact, even in most cases, I didn't even suggest the lens. I just said what framing I wanted, if I wanted close-ups or if I wanted wide shots. But other than that, they're good enough to know what's required. So I don't think it's really necessary at all to know. I think it's more important to know framing and to know to keep an eye on performance. But that's just my opinion.
And what would you say has been the most rewarding aspect of the directing process? I find it all very rewarding. I suppose when the film is concluded and you sit there with an audience,
and when you sit there with the cast and crew and you see their reaction to what everyone has helped to create, that's definitely rewarding. But I enjoy the read-throughs, I enjoy the rehearsals, I enjoy being on set. Like it's all, I enjoy the editing process, the grading. I enjoy every part of it really. So, but I suppose the real rewarding thing is for people to see your work with people and to see the reaction to it. I think that's probably the ultimate reward.
So, and how did you personally get into directing, and what advice would you give to anyone else looking to do the same?
I got into it by accident because I was writing and I'd been writing a lot of scripts and they weren't getting made, and I thought, okay, the very first thing I did was I borrowed a camera from a friend of mine, got two friends of mine who weren't actors, and the three of us made a film a long time ago, and I really enjoyed the process, and I then went and did a short guerrilla filmmaking course. It was I was a very, very short thing, a weekend thing, or maybe 2 weekends, and I met a few people at that, and we got together and we used to film each other's films. And then there was friends of mine down. Well, there was people I didn't know them back then, although they were good friends since, who had set up Ego Motion Forum back then to help people around where I live in Cork to make films. So we got together as groups, and we used to do those 24-hour competitions where you'd get an idea at the start. You'd have to have the film, and we'd all get together and we'd do everything we needed to do. So it was a long process. To get to the point, after doing a lot of that and a lot of shooting and a lot of writing, a lot of everything really, because that's kind of what's required, mucking in on everyone's films, then I just started to be more serious about what I wrote and what I filmed, but it was, I suppose, I don't like the term an organic process, but I suppose it was to an extent, in that it just built from that, and so the advice I would have to people who are interested in directing is take up a camera and meet up with local filmmakers or local people who are enthusiastic about making film, and just get together and make stuff. I mean, it doesn't have to be great, and at the start it probably won't be, but you'll have fun doing it, and you'll learn so much doing it, and the more you do it, the better you're going to get at it, and I think there's no real substitute for experience.
Because there's a quote that I like, and I always attribute it to Ridley Scott. For some reason, he sticks in my mind as being the person who said it, but it goes, a film is never finished, it's just abandoned. And with that in mind, looking back on Beyond the Woods and the making of it, is there anything you think you would have done differently now?
I don't think I could have done anything differently. I think I achieved everything I could achieve with what was available to me, and I'm very happy with how everything turned out. I'm delighted with it. I mean, it's better as these things should be, and it is thankfully better than the sum of its parts. We all came together and made it better. When you look at it in a script, it's always going to be different to how it turns out in the end, because everyone brings everything to it. Like actors make the characters bring the characters to life and give them characteristics that that you wouldn't necessarily have seen, and it's a pleasure to see it. And the cinematographer, lighting, camera all brings its own view, sound, everything. Like it all comes together to be greater than the sum of its parts. So I don't think, like, I could always say it would have been nice to see the sinkhole in it. It was in the original script, and it would have been nice to do it. But I wouldn't do that differently, because I couldn't have done it to the level that it would have needed to be done. So maybe it would have let down the film in the end. Whereas it's consistent in what it does, Beyond the Woods. It's there's no part of it that lets it down, in my opinion. It's like the effects and the acting and the scenes and everything all of a certain quality, and I wouldn't have liked to have let that down by trying to bring the sinkhole in and not being able to do it to the same level.
So, which filmmakers personally inspire you? Who are you drawn to? Who do you look up to?
There's so many. It's hard to single out filmmakers in particular. I've always been a huge fan of Lynch, even though there's not much Lynch in the film really, but I've always been drawn to his films and to Twin Peaks and that. I don't know why that is. I love John Carpenter's stuff, In the Mouth of Madness, The Thing, Vampires. Like a lot of his films I really like, but I suppose he's a bit of a maverick, and he kind of, you don't know what you're going to get with him. David Cronenberg I love as well, and like that, he's a bit of a maverick too. You mentioned Ridley Scott, Alien. I love Alien, the original Alien, and Aliens too. But Aliens, I suppose, more of an action movie, which is a great movie. And Cameron's old stuff as well, like Terminator was a huge film for me when I was a kid. I don't know how many times I rewatched that film. So there's an awful lot, and I know when I look back on this interview, I'll be thinking, oh, why didn't I mention all these people? Jeff Nichols, I love his stuff. I love the fact that he can build tension from nothing, like that Take Shelter. I think is a great movie. And Mike Flanagan, Oculus, and a few of his films, very atmospheric, So yeah, there's a lot of people I'm influenced by, and you can look back to the films of like Hooper and Romero and all that, who are obviously going to influence a film like Beyond the Woods, and Peter Jackson as well. So I'm influenced by an awful lot. I have a broad taste in film, not just horror, even though I do tend to go towards the dark side of stuff. But I action movies, sci-fi, everything. I've a broad taste, so I could keep on going, but I better stop myself now before I go on too much.
So this is kind of the last question. It's not so much a question, but just an opportunity, I guess. In a world of hundreds of channels and streaming and short attention spans, why should people go and see your film? Just sell it to us.
Because it's a unique indie horror with great characters that'll make you feel something, and it has tension, and it has suspense, and it has psychological horror and supernatural horror. So there's a lot packed into a short enough film, like you say. Attention spans are short, and it's like it's an hour and 20 minutes. So it's a short film that packs in a lot.
I mean, I saw the film obviously before we got in touch with each other. I did review it on my channel. I did like it. I think for anyone who is trying to get started, who's thinking about making independent films themselves, I do think this is a good film to check out. I think it shows what you can get away with on very little, to be honest, and I think it's quite effective. So yeah, I urge people to go and check that out. Do check it out, do watch it. But I'm just going to finish off this interview with something I like to do, which is just a rapid fire kind of either or. So I've got 20 things here. I'm just going to reel them off, and I just want you to give the first answer that comes to your head. It's like
okay. It's like a Rorschach.
Yeah, a bit of a Rorschach test. Yeah. So see what comes up.
Okay.
We'll finish off just to lighten the mood or whatever. But okay, I have my own personal answers for these, so I always like to find out what other people, where they sit You know,
Fair enough.
will I be contacting them again or not? Okay, so here goes. Batman or Superman?
Batman.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off or The Breakfast Club?
Oh, that's a hard one. Oh, Christ. Breakfast Club would say.
Christopher Nolan or Stanley Kubrick?
Stanley Kubrick.
Lamb or chicken?
Chicken.
Alien or Blade Runner?
Blade Runner.
Scarlett Johansson or Jennifer Lawrence?
Scarlett Johansson.
Iron Man or Captain America?
Iron Man.
Drama or comedy?
Comedy.
Captain Kirk or Captain Picard?
Captain Kirk.
Dracula or Frankenstein?
Dracula.
The Rolling Stones or the Beatles?
The Beatles.
Curry or gravy?
Curry.
Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter?
Lord of the Rings.
Good choice. Classical or country?
Classical.
Michelle Pfeiffer or Anne Hathaway?
Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yeah, good choice. Sweet or savoury?
Oh, that's a hard one. Okay, let's just say sweet. I'll jump in.
Get Out or It Follows?
Oh, that's a hard one as well. Oh, Christ. That is a draw, actually. Do I have to pick one?
Yes, you do.
Okay. It Follows.
Yes, good choice. Good man. North or south?
South.
Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Breaking Bad or Game of Thrones?
That's a hard one. I nearly need to wait till Game of Thrones concludes. We'll say Game of Thrones for now.
Okay. Right. Excellent. Turns out I will be calling you again at some point.
Hey.
So there you go. It was looking rough there, rocky for a minute, but yeah, we scored good. Okay, nice one. So yeah, to everyone out there, please do check out Sean's film. It's called Beyond the Woods. It is out now on digital download, is it? Streaming?
It is, yeah, and DVD.
And DVD. Check it out and yeah, share it. Share your thoughts on it. But yeah, Sean, thank you ever so much for joining me here on my channel. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Likewise, Brian. Thanks a million.
And for all you out there watching, until next time, crack in.